Kyle Morgan with Blue Bearing Solutions, Safariland Cadre. Today we're going to talk about 3 Safariland holsters and the security that they provide. The first holster we're going to talk about is the Safariland 5198. We have this mounted on a QLS, so you can, with the receiver, you can interchange all the holsters, which is a great function that Safariland provides. This is a friction-based system where it only uses tension, and you tighten and adjust the tension with this one Allen key here. You see this a lot in the competition style shooting where speed is of the essence, and you're going to sacrifice a little bit of the security pieces of some of the other holsters that Safariland provides. If you're shooting, moving a bunch, this is something that you have to make sure there's enough tension on this system to where your pistol doesn't come flying out, especially when you're using more than one weapon system and you're not thinking about, is my gun in my holster? And that's where the peace of mind you get from the other holsters. We'll talk about the ALS and the SLS. So one of the things that I consider with a friction-based system is, do I have enough tension on it to secure the pistol like up and down if I'm moving, right? Is it kind of just so loose that it's going to fly out? And then also on the other side of that is if it's too tight and it's going to hang my draw up, that's the thing. You have to dry fire this and figure out like where the sweet spot is for you based on what is it just static shooting, or are you going to be required to move from one position to another and engage? If you ever do get where it's too tight, you can, on your draw, whether your hands are up or down, when you go to grab the pistol grip, you can push down and out into your thigh, and that creates the separation that you need to be able to clear the holster quickly and actually get the gun out smoothly. With what I was talking about the tension, here's the Allen key that you would adjust the tension itself. I usually just, if I want it to be super loose, I'll create that separation here, kind of work that out. That'll allow you to free the pistol out of the holster very quickly. You also run into the issue of it potentially just flying out now, because it's so loose. So you have to play around with, the amount of tension that you put into the system based on the type of movements that you have to make. So now we're going to talk about Safariland's 6354 ALS system. Same setup with the QLS fork here, allowing you to interchange between all the systems that you have. With this system, it's an auto-locking system that with one movement down and back with your thumb allows you to disengage the locking mechanism in this system. The biggest difference between friction-based security and then a locking system is you have the peace of mind with this, regardless of the movements. If I end up on the ground, up moving, shooting, moving, and communicating, that your gun and your tool is going to be there when you need it. A few changes you have to make from that friction-based system as far as your draw, instead of just kind of being able to get a good grip, you have to, as I'm wrapping this pistol grip with my thumb, I'm actually disengaging the ALS first, and then I'm pulling up on the pistol itself. And I'll demonstrate that with a few draws and shots. One thing that I see on social media is you'll see some people struggling to get, especially when they're panicked or when they're in a fight or freeze kind of space, that they're struggling to clear their pistol from their holster because of this type of security mechanism, the auto-locking system, which is there to give you the peace of mind that it's going to be there, but you shouldn't have to fight to get the gun out of the holster. That's where just understanding, if you do this in the wrong sequence, you're going to potentially get hung up. So you have to disengage the ALS with one smooth motion down and back. That'll free you up to clear the holster. So if you try to pull up on the holster first and then can it, and you're in some weird position, and then you try to disengage it, there's a potential you're going to lock the gun up into the holster. With quality repetitions of near optimal setups and considerations, you can clear this holster with almost the same amount of speed as you could with just a friction-based security mechanism. All right, so the last holster we're going to talk about today is the 6304 ALS SLS, which is a combination of the auto-locking system and the self-locking system. So still have it set up on the same way with the QLS fork here. The big difference between just an ALS system where it's just back on the auto-locking system to be able to retrieve the pistol, to 3 movement with the SLS. You have to push the self-locking system down, forward, and then back on the ALS to be able to free the firearm from the holster itself. So the big takeaway, at least for me in my observations with some of the training I've done with law enforcement thus far, is if I was in a situation where someone was, maybe I was dealing with multiple people and my hands are busy with something else, I can rest assured that it's going to be harder for someone to be able to take my firearm from me with this level of security, right? Because they have to go through the movements of, down, forward, and then back to be able to clear this pistol. Whereas even just with the, with just the friction, they just got to be able to get their hand on the gun and pull it out from my holster. And then if you take it to the next step with an ALS, they just have to be able to get lucky and then actuate the ALS backwards, and they can clear your pistol. Whereas this, it's a counter movement, right? So they have to be able to push down, forward, and then back to be able to clear the pistol from the holster and take it from you. The other thing to note is when you're building, using the middle of your finger, like I talked about with the ALS holster, to guide up to the pistol grip into the bottom of the trigger bar. So your middle finger is in this reference point. As you wrap around, the difference with the SLS and the ALS is I have to just come up a little bit higher and know that my first movement is going to be down, forward, and then back, and then clear the holster and engage. I think it's worth highlighting that you can be just as fast with an ALS and in a friction holster. And then adding the layer of the SLS that we talked about, where you have that peace of mind, where you see it a lot in law enforcement when they're in situations with large crowds and they're out there, policing, and they have to be able to retain this pistol in a situation where people are trying to take it from them. With practice, you can be consistent across all the spectrums of the different types of Safariland friction or security mechanisms. Just know that if you saw in the video, I was way more consistent with just the ALS because it's something that I use all the time. So highly encourage you, whatever systems that you have to use or want to use, get a ton of reps with that system, and then introduce another that you're interested in or that you may be required to use. All right, so that's all I got for today. Give us a follow on Blue Bearing Solutions page as well if you're interested in any of the training that we offer here in North Carolina.